and Mexicans were next. And then how about that? Was the Germans next, or were the Germans next? No. How about Davy Crockett? When was the Alamo? 1836. Those weren't Mexicans, or some of them were Mexicans, but they were white people, Anglos, that came from Kentucky, Tennessee, and wherever. And finally, the Germans came. And what was the difference between the Germans and everybody else that was here? And I would say the difference was that the Germans, when they came, had a plan for a town. They had, we're going to lay out a town and we're going to do this. The other people came and had just little group here, little group there, little group there. That's all you had. The Germans had this big overall plan, and that's why they survived and why New Braunfels was good. I always thought that we did a very poor job when we had all the kids out here and we're trying to tell them everything is German. And half the kids are Mexicans.
Right. Yeah, that's not doing it. That's doing a disservice to
and they were here
community.
First. They were here first, and they don't get that in history. And that's what they need to, they need to realize that what the Germans did here was a mixture of everything that came before.
Yeah,
The Germans learned from what was going on. And I'd use a brick and say this is an adobe brick, and this brick was made 150 years ago. And it came out of that house up there. That's when the house was built. And this is a modern brick, and just show them the difference of, you can't scratch a modern day brick because it's clay and it's baked. An adobe brick, you could take a coin or something and you could just scratch it and the dirt would come off. And explain to them that you couldn't build it and just let it open to the weather because it rains too much here. The place where you find the most adobe is Albuquerque, northern Mexico, and the southwest Texas. But you can't use that unless you cover it up. So it becomes that in this area, adobe is not a good building material unless you cover it up with something.
more rain.
Yeah, too much rain, and I tell them, well, the Germans solved the problem. They covered it with wood.
See if they had the insulated.
Yeah. And these walls, the bricks that are in there that made those walls are the bricks that were made with those molds that the kids made, that the living history kids made. We just, after they were dried, we'd stack them up and finally just went over it. We initially tried to do it with mud. That didn't last very long with too much rain and too much work to keep it up, so we just ended up white Portland cement
Hold it
mortar.
together a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you put chicken wire over it before you put the
Yes.
cement?
Yeah, we did. We put chicken wire over
And
it.
incidentally, when we rechinked Reiniger cabin over there, we mixed 10% Portland concrete in with the chinking material
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
kind of
What is
firm it up.
chinking material? Same stuff?
That's the stuff in the log cabins
Yeah, I
that they
know, but
put
what is it made of?
Mostly lime and
lime
sand.
and sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps that fills the cracks.
Yeah.
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 Between the boards.
One thing, the question that'll come is, what is adobe? Well, adobe, the meaning of adobe is just dirt. But what kind of dirt are you going to use that's going to make your brick the best? And the name is caliche. And that's what natural desert sand and earth is. It's caliche. It's calcium carbonate. It's weathered and it makes a fine powder and it
More
compacts.
of an arid climate dirt.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And some people call crushed limestone caliche. It's not. It's crushed limestone. And you could make bricks out of that. They compact it on the road and it works. And you could make bricks. It's going to crumble more so than this kind of brick would. But the caliche, there's lots of it around. I know when I was a kid growing up, where the American Legion home is across from Sophienberg, that whole hill is caliche. It's just hard
Yeah, those guys on the ranches look for those, make leachy pits for the road.
Yeah, and that's the Specht House. That's what they had out there on that farm in Marion. There was a spot on the property where they had caliche. That there was a kind of a dome of it, and that's where they got the material to make all the bricks that went in there.
Oh, the old rancher told me one time, you want to find the caliche, you go find where there's a natural grove of oak trees. They like the caliche. That's what he told me. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
true or not.
And if anybody wants to see in my office in there, there's a section of the wall that's exposed with these, these bricks. You can see them.
Like I say, it's just kind of water intensive for the cleanup. And the good part was these tables have a glass top. So as you're working, everything gets messed up and muddy. These little plastic things just scrape it on the ground, clean it up, and go from there. At the end of the day, a rag and a hose and wash it down. And what I did is I just took the pans and the molds, and I had a lid for these, and I just put them under the table and had everything cleaned off. Then I'd hose it down and go from there. But it's just, it's hard to suit with, if you have 4 kids on each side of the table, one person is going to have a hard time supervising.
Yes.
I generally had some of the Leos helping me, and I'd usually have 2 of them, and it's pretty easy. They learn very quickly how to do it, and I actually found I could walk around and do a little bit while they were helping. I had some complaints from someone saying the kids were, why are the kids doing that? But they did good. They really did. Okay.
There you go.
Well, thank